Welcome to this week's Training on Demand. We're looking at a warehouse fire. Well, not necessarily a warehouse, but a large commercial structure. Some of the principles we're talking about apply to multiple structures. So we're calling it a warehouse fire, but it's really kind of a large commercial. So we're looking at this situation. The sign says auto auction. Very large space. Again, we're standing a little too close here, so it's hard to get the scope and size of this building. But it's a fairly large building, probably 50,000 square feet or thereabouts. We see that we've got a couple of things that we see right up front. This would, fairly modern construction building. I don't know if this is a phony facade or not. I don't know if that's a full second floor or is that just a mezzanine area. Hard to really determine that. A couple of things that cross my mind right away is there's a municipal fire alarm system. Maybe there is a fire alarm system within this building, which is kind of scary because it seems like we've got a pretty good smoke condition pushing with some turbulence. Appears to be right down to the threshold level. There's something going on, and I'm hoping this building is somehow subdivided, because if that volume of smoke is coming out and this entire first floor area is filled with smoke, we've got some challenges. We've got some real challenges. So if we're talking about investigating in this situation, you may have to do a drive around 360 here. You may have to, it may be a little time consuming and we don't know. But again, this is a very, very large building. So, getting apparatus on multiple sides, they may be able to report the findings of a 360 to you or whatever. But in this particular case, I mean, you're out here somewhere. You probably, you have to be under air as soon as you're at that threshold. You have to be under air. Now, a lot of smoke, a lot of black smoke. Do I have a vehicle fire in this building? Maybe that's what I have. Maybe I got something else going on. You need to kind of figure this out. But we will be advancing a line somewhere here, or maybe in a different direction. But if we're advancing a line somewhere in here, we're doing it under some, adverse conditions. It's not the end of the world, certainly. I think any of us have been there. You take a thermal imager out, you kind of see what is that smoke looking like? What is the temperature we're operating in? But you're moving pretty slow and deliberately, and you're probably keeping the hose line with you, because the idea of getting disoriented in a building of this size clearly should be on your mind. Somebody should be paying attention to that. You may not have a ton of fire conditions, and you're not going to burn or get thermal insult here. But what is going to happen is you're going to get lost and trapped in a smoke condition and run out of air if you're not paying attention. My point for this training on demand is always behave a little differently when the size of the box that you're operating in is different. So you're going to have your progress in here, let's assume, is going to be under these smoke conditions, possibly some moderate heat conditions, and we're going to go in and do what we have to do. I want you to start thinking, how much air do you need for this fire? And I don't mean you, well, I do mean you personally. How far are you going to be able to get with an air bottle? Maybe you're using 30-minute bottles in your department. You got 17, 18 minutes of hard work time. That means, what does that mean in your world? Is that 16 minutes in and I hope that I got 2 for escape? Is it 9 and 9? What is it? What is it? How do you work? How do you operate on air supply when you're in a building that's of this volume and this size? Again, I assume the building is subdivided, so this is not the entire building, but you need to be thinking about that and figuring that out. Now, I want you to look closely at this photograph and contrast that. See, the other piece that we're talking about here is the location of the fire within the building. We have the same building We have the same situation. But if I move the location of the fire, how does that change my thought process and what I need to do about it? We're talking about this, and now from here, what does that do now to this situation? It's exactly the same building I'm talking about this. What things get better for me? What things get worse for me? Well, obviously, I got some idea of where the fire is. I've been very successful as a chief. When I see it coming out the windows, it helps me a great deal because I'm not that smart. So I've got a better location of what's going on. Fire appears to be a little bit of a lazy flame, but we got some heavy black and we've got some other smoke showing from that area. Does it appear to be a little more confined? Secondarily now, I guess my question comes into be, when I now make an advance similar to what I did the last time, what are the conditions that I'm walking in this building? If that's a full second floor, it doesn't seem like I have a lot showing from this first floor area. It doesn't seem like things are horrible on this first floor. That means that I can advance a line. Maybe I can advance a dry line. Maybe I can move pretty quickly, get to a stairway, get to an area where I can get upstairs and start making an attack on this fire. There are a lot of things that I need to be thinking about. I also need to be thinking about the construction of the building and how I can use that to help me in this particular scenario. You know, am I going to get a quick knockdown? Is this something that's happening? You know, maybe it's a closed office. Maybe that's why we got heavy fire development, an alarm sounded. It doesn't seem like a lot of steam going on, so I don't think there's sprinklers operating. But I think that what this tells me is that just by moving this fire here, I think that what it does for me is it allows me to understand that my advance is going to be a little bit easier in this situation. This is still a big fire. Most companies, most apartments, this would be a multiple alarm fire, certainly based on manpower and resources. But the fact is that my advance is going to be a little quicker and a little easier to go. Now, we had a discussion about paying attention to the size of the box and the amount of air you have in your cylinder. If I make a quick, rapid advance, get to the stairway, get a line up the stairs, and incidentally, how much line do I need to find a stairway, get up, make an advance, and get to the target room here? How much line do I need? Is this maybe a 2.5-inch line on floor 1, and then put an 1 3/4 high-rise pack either on a gate or on the end of a smoothbore nozzle to be able to advance? How much line do I need? So now I start hitting the fire, I put it out, smoke, steam, whatever, starts banking down, gets a little crazy and whatever. What does that do to my escape time? Because my time in here was pretty quick. I didn't have to crawl. I didn't have the high heat condition I had previously. What I've got is the ability to move in pretty quickly. Does that trick me in thinking about what my escape time is or what my escape time should be? So I think that that's something that we have to consider also. Just these two scenarios, the location of the fire within the same building really becomes a big deal. That translates down to the 2.5-story wood you have in your own district. Fire in the second floor bedroom fire, same volume of fire. How do you attack that? How do you deal with that? How easy is it to advance on that? And then take that same volume of fire and put it in the basement. Two completely different scenarios for our personnel, for our incident commanders to think about, just because we moved the location of the fire. Looking at this building and determining the size of the box and the construction of the building, what's going on here? So it appears that we've got certainly a good volume of smoke, black smoke. It's not turbulent, but there certainly is a good volume there. And it tells me that the container is full. Now, you got to look close at this picture, and I chose this picture for a reason. You notice the symmetry, and you notice what's going on in this building, and I'm hoping that you notice right here. I hope you notice somewhere right in here as we look at the building. Is this a valid separation? That is my question, and again, let's look at that again. Is that a valid fire separation for some reason? So, are we going to pop that overhead door? Are we starting to cut triangles in that? Are we trying to force that? What are we doing? What's our method of operation here? And again, what can we determine? Everyone knows that overhead doors are notoriously not super tight. So smoke is going to escape via the path of least resistance. Now maybe this is an auto repair garage, an auto body shop, something of that nature. It's a commercial establishment. Maybe we got a vehicle fire on the inside. Maybe we got a contents, trash fire on the inside, whatever it is we happen to have. But smoke is going to escape by the path of least resistance. But I want you to think about, in this case, has that smoke condition filled this space? Pretty good volume of smoke. What's going to happen as we begin to make entry, add air, if we are not controlling the air? What's going to happen in this situation, and how is this going to, impact it? Are we changing the flow path? Are we changing and adding more air than we should? So what might be an easier situation than going right after this fiberglass garage door? Maybe it's steel, maybe it isn't. Maybe we need to get in here and do something and use this manway door and start controlling and get some control, because this thing has potential to do bad things. So think about it as you look at the building and as you look at what's going on. Are there valid separations we can use? Pretty easy to clear that second half of the building because it doesn't look like it's in trouble. But thinking about what you got here might make some sense, and it might give you a better method of operation. So let's go back and look at it almost in its original condition. And again, we see what appears to be a separation, but we can't really be sure about that. So nothing is certain. Understanding the buildings and knowing what's going on and knowing what the fire is trying to tell you, or the smoke condition, is critical in these large commercial structure situations. If you got any questions or comments or feedback, please send me an email. Just put in the subject line warehouse fire, because that's what I called the session, and I'd be happy to discuss it with you, get back to you, or do whatever. Tell me if you like these sessions or don't like these sessions. We're trying to go all over the board here and give you some little snapshots of some simple training that you can use on your own time.